I only showed you the highlights of this match, you'd probably tell me the same story as everyone else. Ronnie O'Sullivan looked unstoppable. 3 century breaks, a magnificent 131, another 111, another 100. Then, after trailing 1-3, he completed the comeback. The scoreboard now read 4-3. At that moment, almost everyone watching believed the match had already turned. The greatest break builder in snooker history had found his rhythm, and Kyren Wilson looked like the next victim. But here's the strange part. That wasn't the moment Kyren started losing the match. It was the moment he started winning it. That sounds impossible. How can a player begin winning while he's actually behind? The answer has almost nothing to do with potting. It has almost nothing to do with century breaks. And surprisingly, it has very little to do with the scoreboard. Instead, it comes down to something professional players often notice, long before spectators do. Pressure, because while everyone inside the arena was watching Ronnie's incredible scoring, Kyren Wilson was watching something completely different. He was watching how much effort Ronnie needed just to stay ahead. That's an important difference. Most players make 1 century, and suddenly the match feels comfortable. Ronnie made 3, and yet, he only led by a single frame. Think about that, 3 centuries, 1 frame advantage. That should already tell us something. Despite producing some of the best snooker of the tournament, Ronnie still couldn't pull away. Every time he created a spectacular moment, Kyren found a way to keep the match alive, maybe not immediately, maybe not dramatically, but consistently. And that's the word that quietly shaped this entire match. Now here's the question that changed the way I looked at this semi-final. What if Ronnie's greatest strength also became his biggest weakness? Because once you see it, the final 3 frames suddenly make perfect sense. Let's go back to that moment. 4-3, Ronnie O'Sullivan had just completed one of the finest scoring spells of the tournament. 3 centuries, 3 almost perfect visits. If you were sitting in the arena, it felt inevitable. This was classic Ronnie, the kind of snooker that has broken the confidence of the world's best players for nearly 3 decades. But Kyren Wilson wasn't reacting like someone who had just watched 3 centuries. He was reacting like someone who believed the match was still exactly where he wanted it. Why? Because he understood something that most fans never notice. A century break doesn't always mean control. Sometimes, it simply means you played 1 perfect frame. And there's a huge difference between those 2 things. Look closely at Ronnie's comeback. Yes, he won 3 spectacular frames, but what happened before them? Kyren had already built a 3-1 lead. And what happened after them? Wilson won the last 3 frames of the match. Suddenly, Ronnie's incredible scoring looks very different. Instead of controlling the entire match, he controlled only 1 section of it. Everything before belonged to Wilson, everything after also belonged to Wilson. That changes the story completely. This is where the statistics become fascinating. Ronnie produced 3 century breaks. Wilson produced only 1. If centuries decided matches, Ronnie should have won comfortably, but they don't, because snooker isn't measured by your highest level. It's measured by how often you reach a winning level. Wilson reached that level again, and again, and again. He didn't need to score 130. Sometimes 79 was enough, sometimes 89, sometimes 97. Every one of those breaks achieved exactly the same result. Another frame on the scoreboard. That's one of the biggest misconceptions in professional snooker. Fans remember the size of a break. Players remember whether it won the frame. To Kyren Wilson, a clinical 79 was just as valuable as Ronnie's spectacular 131. Both counted as 1 frame, nothing more, nothing less. And that's exactly how Wilson approached the match. He wasn't trying to create highlights. He was collecting frames. By the time Ronnie took the lead, something unusual had already happened. The crowd believed Ronnie had all the momentum. The scoreboard suggested Ronnie was ahead. But Kyren Wilson had never stopped playing his own game. He wasn't chasing Ronnie's centuries. He was waiting for the moment when Ronnie's extraordinary scoring became ordinary snooker again. And that moment was much closer than anyone realized, because the match wasn't going to be decided by the best frame. It was going to be decided by the next ordinary one. When Ronnie took the lead, The match reached a crossroads. From the outside, everything looked perfect. 3 centuries, a comeback completed, a 4-3 advantage. If you paused the match right there and asked 100 snooker fans who would win, most of them would probably give the same answer. Ronnie O'Sullivan, after all. This is exactly what Ronnie has done throughout his career. 1 great frame becomes 2, 2 become 3, and suddenly, the match is gone. But Kyren Wilson refused to follow that script. Instead of trying to stop Ronnie's brilliance, he simply waited for it to end. That might sound strange, but no player, not even Ronnie O'Sullivan, can play at century break level forever. Eventually, every match returns to normal, and that's exactly where Kyren Wilson became stronger. The next frame wasn't decided by a miraculous clearance. It wasn't decided by an impossible long pot. It was decided by patience. Wilson slowed everything down. Every safety mattered. Every positional shot became more important. Every loose red suddenly had consequences. This was no longer the fast, flowing match Ronnie had enjoyed during his comeback. It had become the kind of contest Kyren Wilson loves, a match built on discipline. This is something many people miss about Kyren Wilson. He's rarely the flashiest player in the tournament. He's rarely the biggest scorer. But when matches become uncomfortable, when every decision carries pressure, he becomes incredibly difficult to beat. Because pressure doesn't force Wilson to change his game, it forces him to trust it even more. And that's exactly what happened here. After falling behind, Wilson didn't become desperate. He didn't start forcing impossible pots. He didn't try to answer Ronnie with another century. Instead, he trusted the same approach that had given him the early 3-1 lead. 1 opportunity, 1 frame, then another, and another, before anyone realized it. The scoreboard had changed again. Ronnie's lead had disappeared. Now, the pressure had completely switched sides. This is where statistics reveal something the highlights never can. Over the entire match, Wilson scored 620 points. Ronnie scored 502. Wilson's pot success was 81% compared to Ronnie's 76%. Perhaps most importantly, Wilson spent 57% of the match at the table. Ronnie, just 40%. Those numbers tell a very different story from the highlight reel. They tell the story of a player who quietly controlled the rhythm of the match. Even while Ronnie was producing unforgettable moments, by the time the match reached its final frame, the question was no longer, can Ronnie produce another century? The real question had become, can Ronnie stop Kyren Wilson from doing exactly what he's been doing all match? The answer was no. So, why did Kyren Wilson really win this match? Not because he produced the highest break. He didn't, not because he made more centuries. He didn't, not because Ronnie suddenly played badly. He certainly didn't. The real difference was much simpler. Kyren Wilson never judged the match by its biggest moments. He judged it by the next opportunity. And over 2 hours of snooker, that mindset slowly became the difference between winning and losing. Think back to Ronnie's comeback. 3 centuries, a 4-3 lead. For many players, that would have been emotionally devastating. Some would have started chasing the game. Others would have taken unnecessary risks, trying to answer brilliance with even more brilliance. Kyren Wilson did neither. He stayed exactly the same player he had been at 1-1, at 3-1, and later at 3-4. That's incredibly difficult to do, because pressure doesn't just test your cue action, it tests your discipline. One statistic captures this perfectly. Wilson spent 57% of the match at the table. Ronnie spent just 40%. At first glance, that doesn't sound dramatic, but think about what it really means. It means Wilson controlled the rhythm. He dictated the pace. He decided when the match became tactical and when it became aggressive. Even while Ronnie was producing century breaks, Wilson was quietly controlling everything around them. That's a remarkable achievement against one of the fastest and most dangerous players the sport has ever seen. There's another lesson hidden inside this match. Fans often remember the shots. Players remember the decisions. Ronnie gave us unforgettable highlights. Kyren gave us unforgettable match play. Every safety, every positional shot, every recovery, every decision had one purpose: to make the next frame just a little harder for Ronnie. 1 frame wasn't enough, 2 weren't enough, but over the course of the match, those tiny advantages became impossible to ignore. Years from now, Many people will remember Ronnie's 131. They'll remember the 3 centuries. They'll remember the comeback from 1-3 to 4-3. And they should. It was extraordinary snooker. But if that's all they remember, they'll miss the real story, because this wasn't a match about spectacular scoring. It was a match about emotional control. While Ronnie was creating moments, Kyren was building a victory, one decision at a time, one frame at a time, until there was nothing left to chase. In the end, Kyren Wilson didn't beat Ronnie O'Sullivan by playing like Ronnie O'Sullivan. He beat him by refusing to. He trusted his own game. He stayed patient when the match seemed to be slipping away. And when the pressure reached its highest point, he became even more composed. That's why Ronnie's greatest scoring display of the tournament still wasn't enough, because championships aren't won by the most spectacular player. They're won by the player who makes the best decisions for the longest period of time. And on this day, that player was Kyren Wilson. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary-style analysis, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories behind the biggest matches in professional snooker. See you in the next one.